Hello, welcome to March Madness Podcast. I'm Sharon Versyp, and I'm going to be here for the next 4 weeks and having 4 episodes of talking about college women's basketball and how our hoop dreams have continued to grow exponentially in sold-out arenas. So this is really exciting time, March Madness all over the country, and I will be bringing in some special guests from a lot of different conferences. And it's going to be a lot of fun for their expertise to share, as well as matchups throughout the country. So let's get right into it right now. So we have the 4 number 1 seeds. With the 4 number 1 seeds this year, you have South Carolina in the Greenville region, 32-0. Dawn Staley has done an amazing job there, and they're going to continue to try to go undefeated and win yet another national championship. In the other Greenville region, number 2, you have Indiana. Terry Morin has done a fantastic job with the Hoosiers this year, and this is their first number 1 seed ever in school history. Then you go out to the Seattle region 3, Virginia Tech in the ACC. Kenny Brooks has done one heck of a job, and they have had amazing players come in there and have dominated the ACC, and it's their first time ever with a number 1 seed. And then Region 4, you have Stanford Cardinal with Tara Vanderveer, who is a legend in her own mind and a Hall of Famer. And so those 4 number 1 seeds are going to be the key. So we'll see who can make any run at them. Well, my first guest on this podcast is Brenda Frese from Maryland. She's a household name. She's one of the best coaches in the country. Been colleagues of hers for many, many years, and she's just one of the best in the business. So I'm very honored to have an opportunity to speak with her first. 2-time National Coach of the Year, 16 top 15 recruiting classes, 3 Final Fours, 14 conference titles, 2006 national championship. In the NCAA, she has over a 70% winning percentage. And 15th time Maryland has earned a top 4 seed, which is extremely difficult to be a part of. So Brenda's, again, 21st year. And the best thing now is, you get to host when you're one of the top 16 seeds. And she gets to be a number 2 seed in the Greenville region, gets to host that first and second round, and gets to open with number 15, Holy Cross, on Friday. And so, Brenda, welcome.
It's always great to see you, Sharon.
Oh, it's better to see you, my friend. Absolutely. So I guess my first question to you and I talked a little bit the other day, but talk about now the transfers. Like, you did an amazing job this year. I mean, to bring in 7 transfers and the culture that you create. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, obviously the new age that we know, the transfer portal now is a real thing. And, we were hit just as much as everybody else. Now, when you talk about off season last year, really between all the graduations and kids that went to the portal, we had to acclimate 9 new players this year. So it was a lot, a lot of players coming in. We had freshmen, we had transfers, unfortunately, as we started rolling, we had 2 kids go out with ACL injuries that was in our post play. So kind of had to reinvent ourselves and really, changed our offense, went to a 5 out, really spread the floor because we were going to be more, just had great guard play. And, fortunately for us, the schedule that we faced was a really, really tough schedule, but the kids bought in and trusted and believed, and here we're sitting, to start the tournament, and we're a 2 seed. So I think if anyone would have told me way back that we were going to be hosting at a 2 seed, absolutely, I would have taken it. But now, we're hungry and we're searching for more.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to go deep in that tournament. And with the hosting, way back in the day, we never hosted, and now we get to host. Do you like that format because your kids get to be at home, or would you rather be traveling?
Well, I think, that's why you work so hard, is that you want to be able to be able to host, sleep in your own beds, have as a routine. I think you've seen when teams, go on the road, it's a lot difficult environment, especially when you're going against fans that are rooting against you. Definitely doesn't guarantee you the win. I mean, when you look at March Madness, these are 64 of the best teams in the country that you're going to face. But absolutely, you work for that advantage to be able to host at home.
No, that's great. And, you have obviously a lot of talent on your team, but the common name that comes up all the time is Diamond Miller. She's one of the top 15 players to watch in this tournament. Just talk about her growth through the whole time she's been with you.
It's a great story, and when you get to watch that process unfold of a 4-year evolution of a player to, person, Diamond came in as a freshman. There was a lot of talent in front of her. So, she came off
Hmm.
the bench for us her freshman year, and her sophomore year, she was named MVP of the Big Ten tournament, and then setback last year in her journey with the knee injury, and then rehabbed it back, and now is the face of our program this season, and really has put the team on her back this year all season long. So rightfully so. I mean, her name's being mentioned anywhere in the top three of the WNBA draft,
Hmm.
and someone who has prepared herself for that moment when it becomes available in April.
Well, and that takes a lot. I mean, you're giving her a lot of credit, but you've cultivated so many great WNBA players and what you've done, and like you said, kids just don't stay around for those 4 years. So just that growth and development is phenomenal, and kudos to everybody. And when we kind of look at the bracket, there's 7 Big Ten teams that got picked this year, and talk a little bit about the Big Ten because those top 5 teams. Obviously Michigan didn't get to host, but there was 5 that almost got to host.
I would not want to face anyone in our conference in this tournament, having gone through it and lived it. I think what's so exciting this year about the teams, one, a lot of teams have allowed the COVID year. Just they have
Yeah.
veteran leaders back and fifth years, so they're veteran led. But I think on both ends of the floor, you're seeing teams that can score the basketball at a really high rate when you look at the number of points that each team is averaging in conference. And then defensively, just really solid defenses,
Hmm.
man, full court, zone. You have to be able to game plan. And I love the fact that so many teams this year are hosting. They've earned that right. We beat each other up through the
Yep.
entire season. I would love that, as many teams can get to the Final Four, and then we go beat each
Yep.
other up because we've been
Right.
doing it all season long.
Well, when you look at your bracket in Greenville region, one, obviously Illinois is the only one that's kind of in there, and you wouldn't see them till a little bit later. But talk a little bit about how you prepare right now. You got Holy Cross, and obviously we only take one game at a time. But you get there, and then Arizona, Pac-12, West Virginia, in the Big 12. I mean, those are that's a good bracket, and I see you've played some teams in that bracket. But what are your thoughts first with Holy Cross?
Yeah, I mean, very well coached. Obviously, coming off of their championship,
Hmm.
and they have a lot of weapons that can score the basketball. And you again, if you're one of the 64 teams in this tournament, you've earned that right through the bulk of your season and the success that you've had. So a team that we're going to have to come out and be ready to play from the tip. So that's the most important thing. And I think in a tournament like this, I mean, I'm really fortunate to have a great staff. I mean, we've got so many assistant coaches. Everybody is kind of plugged in on different teams within that bracket. So,
Hmm.
either your head coach takes care and understands what's at hand, but then you also have proactively things that are going on behind the scenes, so you can prepare your team to the best of its ability.
And because you kind of have some transfers and a more experienced team, that preparation going into this week, obviously is very, very important. So do you have good players, obviously, that really lead and keep them focused off the court?
I love this time of year because you can really see where their focus lies. And these have been some of our best practices. I mean, honestly, we're ready to play. I'm glad we're playing on Friday and not having to wait
Oh
until
yeah.
Saturday because they're kind of chomping at the bit, and you can see it. Just their attention to detail. You don't have to worry about how hard they're cutting because they're cutting so hard. They want to do it the right way.
Hmm.
I mean, it's been fun to see, but they understand. I mean, you win, you advance; you lose, you go home. So that detail is really really important.
So what do you see in this bracket? I know you got to focus on yourself, but when you looked at your overall bracket, you know, What was your first thoughts?
Lucky us, Greenville. So, but
Yeah.
I think the format is different, and for us, I mean, it's one game at a time, and
Yeah.
obviously, if you get past Holy Cross, Arizona and West Virginia, two programs that have had a lot of success, and Arizona just a couple of years ago back playing in the Final Four, so. When you get a Pac-12 and a Big 12 team,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, everybody can play. But fortunately for us, I mean, if seeds go to any kind of way, we've played Notre Dame, we've played South Carolina early in the year. So there's teams out there that if we come across and we're fortunate enough to be able to advance, that there's some common things where it's an easier scout because you've already played them and the personnel. So I think that's super helpful this time of year in terms of that you're not having to feel each other out because you already kind of know what to expect in the style of play.
Absolutely. So you guys finished on a really strong note to get that number 2 seed. I mean, you guys were really playing great basketball. And, like you said, did you expect it? No. Would you take it? Absolutely. But, to be able to host and have that high seed, I just, again, you've done just such an amazing job being able to host and being able to get out there and play. And just watching your team the last 8 to 10 games, they're just hungry. They adapt. They can, play great defense. They got length. They've, I love me some Abby. I love me some Abby.
So do we.
Oh my God. Oh, I wouldn't want to play against her, but you got great pieces, but man, she's just tough, cold blooded, just nails free. So, that just excites me when I watch you all, cause I've obviously played, gone against you and all of that. But, I just think, besides Cheyenne, and she brings certain things, but Abby's my girl.
Yeah. She brings, it's a 5th year when you talk about the COVID years, and having that additional year has been huge. And I mean, I'm not going to shy away. When I looked at our February in Big Ten play, and we were at Iowa at home, Iowa on the road, and then they come back, Ohio State doubles. It was the last 5 games I couldn't even imagine, and just to see what we were able to do, and we won like 11 of our 12 kind of going into that Big Ten tournament. It was, just, an incredible role, and one we want to continue to keep going with.
Yeah. So, because you're in the South Carolina bracket, what are your thoughts on South Carolina?
Well, no one has found a way to beat them yet.
I know.
So they're, obviously huge, great size, every single position. They can defend. Obviously, the rebounding piece is a massive piece. Just they're able to go get it. So, but I like the fact that UCLA played them in a really, really close game earlier in the season. So, if that matchup presents itself, but I've been in it long enough that you've got your bracket. You've got to have things break a certain way, and you've got to play the right way. And so, for us, we're just focused on us and what has allowed us to be successful this season, and just continue to put our players in the best positions to be successful with the scout, and then we'll go from there. I mean, if you would have told me we were going to beat Iowa by over 30 points this year on our home court, I wouldn't have believed it. And then we went out and did it. So, just you got to, that's why you play the most important 40 minutes, and you tip it up and see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the Greenville region 2, where IU got the number 1 seed. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that bracket for them. Again, I think when you look at who's in their bracket, I mean, obviously Washington State right now is really, really hot. Coming off of their Pac-12 championship, I got to see a lot of that. When they played in there, the dangerous team. Florida Gulf Coast always is. Their 8-9 game, again, when you got a Big 12 and an ACC opponent, you have to be prepared, ready to play. Villanova's red hot. So
no, I know.
You have to be able to stop Seagrass. So and their team and the way they can score the basketball. And then, your 2 and 3 seeds, you've got Utah, LSU, NC State, and Princeton. I mean, that's again, like I've said, when sometimes you play that game. Oh, what if I was over here? I mean, everybody's tough this time of year.
And it's hard to get in.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I really like, and again, there's a bias being in the Big Ten, but Indiana, their experience when you talk a fifth year with Grace Berger and
Yeah.
what Holmes has been able, she's had an All-American year herself. Obviously, Utah is having a special year as well. So, just I think two teams that are going to be really motivated, not making it to the finals of their tournament. So
Right.
you've got some motivation there as well. But again, taking it one game at a time and being able to advance.
And so what do you think with Michigan being in there? Obviously they're, got UNLV, which is, like you said, everybody's playing great basketball right now, but, with Michigan, I wasn't sure how good they would be this year coming off of last year, but, they did some, they really improved in different areas. And I know they had an injury, briefly with some kids, but Leah Brown something, huh?
She really is. And I think a team that most people thought maybe, wouldn't have had the success that they've had this past season. And they were, kind of scraping by a little bit when Layla Filia went down, and she's now back into the fold. And I think having these last couple weeks after the Big Ten tournament to really get healthy. So they're a dangerous team.
Yeah.
And obviously UNLV, what they're able to do too. So great matchups, but I think, Michigan now finally being healthy, and, Leah Brown has been a tremendous leader for them all season long and is scoring the basketball at a really high rate. Again, I can see them, moving through the tournament and being very successful.
Did you happen to watch the LSU South Carolina game?
I did not.
You did not. You're probably playing. So, they're both undefeated and all of that. So, LSU obviously has some high-powered players. So, if they both can advance, it'll be interesting because they play two different styles, just like anything. And that's why I love March Madness, because everybody plays a different style and you're not used to playing like the same teams in your conference and beating each other up 2 or 3 times each day.
Oh, so. It really is. We were having a staff meeting today, and obviously we know what our weaknesses are. We're not going to share those, but right. You kind of go through your bracket and you're like, does this team play this way? Does this team? And you're trying to kind of get a sense of what those other teams' style of play is, because where your strengths and weaknesses lie. So it's a fun little game, and really to be able to kind of see how far your team has come in March.
Absolutely. So, Brenda, do you kind of look at things like the first 4 minutes are so important? Do you chop things down like that, or you just mainly everybody's kind of getting in the flow in that first quarter, or what are kind of your goals or expectations for your young women?
Yeah, I've changed out of that. When we used to be halves, I would break down kind of those 20 minutes into 4 minutes, but now because we're quarters, it's really, wanting to kind of get out to a quick start. I think those are important when you're on the road, when you're at home, setting the tone. So that's a priority for us, and really setting the tone with our defense, because, a lot of things can happen where your shot's not falling on the offensive end, but really setting the tone defensively that you're ready to go from the tip.
So with you hosting, have you been able to, selling some good tickets and getting a good atmosphere for you?
Yeah, our fans always do really well, and we just got the game times today, so I know great. There's a heavy push with us playing on Friday at 2:30. So there's a quick turnaround, quick push. Oh, yeah. I know our fans are thrilled to be able to host, and if we're fortunate enough to play 2 games and win, you get to go to Greenville, and that's a location you can get to. But just understanding, I've been on many sides of it, and when we've hosted and won and advanced, and other times you haven't. So there's no guarantees. You got to be the best team for that 40 minutes to be able to continue on.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. It's so great to see you. You're one of the best out there, and go have some fun, and one game at a time, but we'll get you there. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. Always great to be able to see you and spend some time with you.
No, that's great. Well, we'll be back here in a few minutes. I want to thank Brenda Frese once again, and we'll be back here in a second.
Has one man to beat.
Yeah, hard to stop that train moving.
And Stant with another kill. Big hit.
Well, I'm very excited for our second guest for tonight, and that is Jim Flanery from Creighton, from the Big East Conference. And Jim has done such an amazing job. His 21st year at Creighton, over 400 wins, 17th posted season bid, 6th trip to the NCAA. And what Jim has done has been absolutely amazing. And we're going to talk about his run from last year as well. But this year, 22-8, 15-5 in the Big East, number 6 seed in Greenville region, highest seed in school history. Opening round will be Friday in South Bend versus Illinois, Mississippi State winner. Finished third in the Big East. So welcome to the program, Jim.
Hey, great to be on, Sharon. This is, if you're a coach, this is a dream week to be in this position. So I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
No, I mean, March Madness is nothing like it. When I see people win championships and are playing, obviously once a coach, always a coach. I'm coaching again, but a little bit different, but it's still, there's nothing like it. And you and I talked a little bit about, the COVID year and your amazing run last year, Lead 8, beating Colorado, number 8 Iowa, number 10 Iowa State. Your team was young. Like, talk a little bit about that and, now kicking into this season.
Sure. Well, I think, you talked about the COVID year, and I think the COVID year was really good for us from the standpoint that we had a really good group of freshmen. And just because of the nature of that year, the injuries and the COVID issues, those freshmen in that year got to play a lot. They had a lot on their plate. And as everybody who was in any walk of life knows, there was a lot of adversity, and 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And I just felt like they really, that group of now third year players really grew up as freshmen, and we were not very good early. Part of it is we had injuries on top of COVID issues, but they hung in there, and we actually made the NIT that year before and played pretty well down the stretch. We almost made the finals of our conference tournament. We lost a close game to Marquette in the semis. And I just think it was a kind of a springboard toward last year. And when that group was a sophomore class. And, so even though we didn't get, the 30 some games that you get in a normal season and the regularity of a real season, I just felt like we grew up a little bit more. And then last year, I think we were just, once we got into the NCAA tournament, I think we were just naive enough to not feel too much pressure, which I think is huge in the postseason. I think athletics is so much about putting a little bit of pressure on yourself to achieve and get into the details and that, but also not putting so much pressure on yourself that you can't just go out and play. And I think there's a fine balance between that. And I think last year's team really played kind of with the joy of not overthinking things. And so I think that was part of our success. And then we won close games. I mean, the Colorado game ended up 10, but it really was a close game with a minute and a half to go. And Iowa, we hung in there and hit a 3 late, and then watched, their post player who shoots 70% miss a pretty makeable shot. And the same thing with Iowa State. We played from behind the first half of that game, but our confidence showed. And so it really was a magical run. And I know we had a good team, but I don't think I tell people I thought we were maybe a half a year away because of how young we were. I didn't know if we were quite ready for that, but I think looking back, I think our youth probably helped us because I don't feel like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we played with a freedom and a joy that sometimes matters a lot in a tournament setting.
So, a lot of people might not know your style. So what is your style? Shooting the three, guards? Kind of explain that to people.
Yeah, we shoot a lot of threes, and we work on ball handling across our roster. So I think we kind of play positionless basketball, which I think makes us difficult to prepare for sometimes on short notice, which is another factor in the tournament. I think what I would say is the hardest two positions for us to have recruited, in my tenure at Creighton, going from the Missouri Valley even into the Big East, is it's hard to get an elite point guard, and it's hard to get that elite true 5 player.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of just recruited in betweens. We've recruited undersized posts, 6'1" kids who are skilled, and then more combo guards maybe than point guards, just people who can shoot it. And then we work on ball handling and passing across the roster. So an interesting fact about our team last year is we did not have one player with a negative assist to turnover ratio, which is super rare. Usually you look at those 2 or 3 post players who play, and they all have, 1.5 to 2.5 or 3 times as many turnovers as assists. And last year's team, we had 2 kids that were even. We had 2 kids that had the exact same number of post players who had the exact same number of turnovers and assists, but that's pretty rare. And I think it goes to the fact that we expect our post players to have guard skills, and I think that's kind of what can make us unique. In addition to, making threes. But I said if you can be a good passing team, but if you don't make shots, it doesn't show up in your assist numbers. So I think our kids spend a lot of time in the gym, and because they can shoot it, we try to reinforce the idea that we need to be a good passing team on top of that, or it doesn't translate into games.
Absolutely. Well, I coached a long time, and I can't say my assist to turnover ratio was ever that good. So as in all of our teams. So that's why you're doing as well as you are. So let's go to the Greenville region where you are right now. And, number 6 seed, unbelievable. But how is this now different for you? Now you have to prepare for Illinois or Mississippi State, and you're always trying to figure out what's the,
right.
Usually you just know who you play. So now that we're at 68 teams, which is the second year that we've done this. And so now it represents a different issue. Not it's a bad problem, but how do you prepare compared to years before?
Yeah, it's very different, Sharon, because we finished practice today, and we just tried to find some commonalities between Illinois and Mississippi State. They've both played a reasonable amount of zone, and we haven't seen a lot of zone recently, in the last few weeks. So our male practice team played us some zone today to get us back into the, some of the things that you need to look at when you play against zones. And then we tried to just find, 2 or 3 common things that they do. What's one kind of common post-up play that they run, and what do they do from a dribble stand? How are they attacking the basket off the dribble? So we did a few things offensively where it's kind of Mississippi State, it's kind of Illinois.
Sure. Yep.
just to give our kids that look, because once we get to South Bend, we won't have our male practice team, and we'll be a little bit more into us. But we also worked on just our motion offense, which I think, I think the thing that every coach looks forward to in the NCAA tournament is not playing a team that third time, you know, when you get to your conference tournament and you're like, oh geez, they've seen us twice, we've seen them twice. And, you know, offensively, it's just hard to trick people as much, you know, when you get to your conference tournament or even late into your season where you're in February and they've watched you so many times. So I think that's, you know, we got to be who we are on offense. And so, you know, those practices where you get to work a little bit more on yourself than, hey, it's just about prepping for either Illinois or Mississippi State. So I think it was good. But again, you know, the control freak in the coach wants more information and we want to just, you know, spoon feed it to our players. And we really are not in a position to do that. So,
right. Will you be able to be there? Yeah. Will you be able to be there in person to watch that game?
Yeah, we will. We'll get in there just a little bit before. They're playing at 7:00.
Yeah.
Wednesday night. We'll get there just a little bit before that. So there's a small advantage in doing that. I feel like to watch somebody live is a little bit different and a little bit better than to watch them on a screen. So I think that's the good side. And you know, I think when I was talking to you, I said, you know, last year when we played in Iowa City, we played Colorado in the first game.
Right.
And then Iowa played Illinois State in the second game. And I really think it benefited our players to be in Carver Hawkeye Arena during that Iowa-Illinois State game and to hear how loud it was.
Yeah.
I think that really helped us 2 days later when we played Iowa, because I felt like even as a coach, I said to myself, okay, well, how am I going to communicate? It's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little harder. I'm going to have to be a little bit more, you know, quick to get us into something if we want to get into something or, you know, and so I thought it was really helpful that our players were in the building for that. And I think it'll, you know, just being in that environment won't hurt our players either on Wednesday night to see and capture some of that emotion.
Great. Well, let's go to the Seattle 3 region and talk about that. You know, Virginia Tech, the first time that they've been a number 1 seed, which has been unbelievable. But, you know, as you go through here, obviously you've, you know, the UConn being in the Big East. You played Iowa State last year. So kind of when you saw that region, discuss that a little bit, what your thoughts are of the top and the bottom.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll start with UConn because you started there. And look, they scuffled a little in February. I mean, we played them in mid-February, and we led by 11 in the fourth quarter at their place. And they made some tough plays, came back, and we lost by 2. But they lost, you know, a couple conference games to St. John's and Marquette, and played some other teams close that you wouldn't have expected. But then watching them in our conference tournament, I was able to watch their Marquette game right before we played Villanova in the other semifinal, and boy, they look good. I said, I'm watching them thinking that this is a team that's Final Four good if they progress, and getting both AZ Fudd and Caroline Ducharme back. I think if they get through the first weekend and to have those players in their rotation for another week to 2, they're going to be a really difficult out.
Okay. How about St. John's? Even St. John's.
Yeah, St. John's is in the region, and against a battle-tested Purdue team. I think that's, and North Carolina was projected, they were projected slightly higher, and I know we were in the regional last year with North Carolina and South Carolina played in the Sweet 16 before we played Iowa State in the second Sweet 16 game. So I watched North Carolina live play South Carolina, an 8 or 9 point game.
Yeah.
So I know they had some injuries in February, and I think they're healthy now. Ohio State can really score the ball with J.C. Sheldon back. I think that's a team that's super dangerous. I think they kind of ran out of gas that last day against Iowa. And then, of course, South Dakota State we're familiar with. We were fortunate to win at their place this year. That was our opener this year. I'm not a very smart head coach.
That's tough. No, the Jackrabbits, man.
Brookings, especially on opening night. And we, that game came down to the last. We made some plays down the stretch and found a way to sneak that one out. So they'll be a tough out. Because, AJ does a great job there. And, and Virginia Tech, I know it's the highest seed they've ever been. Kitley is a beast in the post, and they've put some shooters around her. I think they're one of the hottest teams in the country with 11 in a row. And not only that, but from what I've seen, they played a really tough schedule down the stretch. So it wasn't even just their conference tournament, but they played really good basketball at the end. And as you said, Iowa State is a 5, Tennessee is a 4. That could be a great second round matchup. I mean, you've got, Tennessee. We played Stanford right before Christmas, and Tennessee had just played them, so they were actually staying an extra day.
Gotcha.
And at that time, I think Tennessee was 7-6, or they'd lost a lot of the marquee non-conference games that they played. But I know that they were battle tested. They played a really hard non-con schedule, and they lost a lot of close games. But then you see how that translated into the SEC, where they, I think only lost 3 regular season games and then beat LSU in the conference tournament. So
it's battle.
And then Bill Fenley's going to have Iowa State ready. I mean, they just won the Big 12 tournament, beat Texas in the finals, so they're playing really well.
All the brackets are tough, and you talked about Stanford, so we'll go to the Seattle one. Yeah, Seattle 4 with Stanford being the number 1 there, and then you got your Iowa Hawkeyes number 2, and again, you played Colorado. You've played. You're familiar.
We played Colorado last year in the first round. Really good defensive team. I mean, really, really physical, really grinded out type of team. I think JR did a great job this year because they lost some really good kids. So for them they finished 3rd in the Pac-12 regular season. So to be that good, and I think they were picked 8th. Be that good is a testament to how gritty and defensive minded they are. They've got a really good point guard, Jalen Sherrod, got good size. You mentioned Iowa. I mean, Caitlin Clark's cousin Audrey Faber played for us, so I've known Caitlin for a long time. She's fun to watch. She's must-see TV. She's the Steph Curry of women's college basketball. And
she is.
And that's interesting. Katie Abrahamson at Georgia is an Iowa native, so she'll be going back to her backyard to play. It's a tough one too. I mean, Drake. We played Drake earlier in December. Allison Pullman has done a really good job picking up where Jenny Bronchick left there a couple of years ago, went to Oklahoma. They haven't missed a beat. They're really tough to guard. They play really fast, and they're one of the best passing teams in the country year in, year out. Yeah. That's a tough draw for Louisville. I feel like that would be a really good, compelling first-round game. And then, as you said, we played Stanford early. Not early, like right before Christmas. And just their size. I mean, and maybe we overplayed it because I had our kids maybe too scared of Cameron Brink, but she's such a rim protector. I said, you're going to have to shot fake. You're going to have to shot fake. And we would get in the paint. We'd shot fake, but then we'd pass it out every time.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Her size is, and just Haley Jones is just she just plays at the right pace. I feel like those two have such great experience that they're going to be, and they're battle tested. The Pac-12 was really good, top to bottom this year. And all their losses were close. So
it's going to be a battle.
It is going to be a battle.
We'll see who gets some major upsets, but I can't thank you enough. I wish you the best of luck. I know you're going to do great. You're one of the best out there. So just appreciate you and have fun this week with your kids. And just thank you again.
Thank you, Sharon. I mean, I told our players, there's nothing like the feeling of standing on the sideline right before that first NCAA tournament game. So I'm excited for it, and I'm way older than 18 to 20, so I can't imagine how excited they are.
No, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and we'll be coming back here in a short break.
Has one man to beat.
Hard to stop that train moving.
And Stant with another kill.
He shoots and he scores!
Oh, big hit.
Welcome back, and just hopefully you enjoyed these two guests. March Madness is around the corner. This is the best weekend and the best week all over the country for women's basketball and men's basketball. So when you look at the rundown of different, the whole bracket, you talk about Cinderellas. And it's hard to pick a Cinderella because Virginia Tech's really hot right now, but they're a number 1 seed. You have Iowa, who's number 2. You have IU, that's a number 1 seed. Will they get there? So you're wondering who may be that dark horse or that Cinderella team. And at this point, it's, I'm going to pick Utah, maybe that Cinderella team. So we'll see what happens there. The players to watch, there's so many different players. Ashley Jones from Iowa State, Diamond Miller from Maryland, Taylor Mikesell from Ohio State, Taylor Soule from Virginia Tech. Obviously Stanford has players, UConn, South Carolina, but some that really can make some noise. So those are some individuals that I feel that will make an impact. And who will win it all? Until somebody can beat South Carolina, they're the team to beat. And on both sides of the ball, they are so physical and can play such great defense, and they can score outside, inside, slashing to the basket. So the South Carolina is definitely a team to beat. And a little bit about me, I'm now at USCB, which is University of South Carolina in Beaufort. I was a former Purdue coach, winningest coach there, and just great to be back, giving back to the game. So we're going to be looking for our next episodes, March 21st. We'll be having a few guests, hopefully from the Big 12 and mid-major schools. So keep you posted, but looking forward to it, and make sure you're watching. Let's go March Madness. Thank you.